Hi, I'm Andy Acton.
And I'm Chris Strevens.
This is Dentology, the Business of Dentistry podcast. What a lovely, lovely conversation.
Inspirational. And as you said, esteemed.
Yes, esteemed.
She's really nice, isn't she? I like her.
Esteemed.
She's very, what you see is what you get. And super driven, though. I quite like that. So.
Yeah. Very clear about what she is doing, but also very considered as well.
Yeah. And an interesting past. You know, another one of our guests who has a moment of failure and potential road bump that you either stop at or go over.
And I think she described herself, she said it was quite humbling, but also she got her resilience badge quite early on in life.
That's brilliant,
and,
really good.
You know, we all have those moments where we get a knockback or things aren't working and we have to dig deep. And for her, it came kind of sooner rather than later.
Well, she's so well known and such a big personality that it's lovely for her to make herself vulnerable and to tell that, because then people go, it's that whole thing of, so it hasn't all been roses and milk chocolate or whatever it might be.
Exactly.
No, it's brilliant.
I think people need to listen through towards the end when they find out about her contribution to the well-known TV programme Top Boy as well.
Definitely, yeah.
It's Monday morning. It's 7 o'clock.
Again.
It's the Dentology podcast.
The Dentology podcast with us, ready in our gym jams and a cup of tea.
I tell you what, we do enjoy this though, don't we?
I think it's such good fun.
It is.
It's so entertaining.
And today we have esteemed dentist Dr. Yewande Oduwole joining us.
Esteemed, I like that.
I like the word esteemed.
Yeah,
I think if anybody ever called me esteemed, I'd be quite pleased with myself.
Underused word, I reckon.
Good. Hello, Yewande. How are you?
Hello. Thank you very much for that introduction. Esteemed. I don't know if I'd use that, but thank you.
I quite like the word esteemed. Yeah. And you are. Have you been keeping well?
I have been. It's, start of a new year. I'm feeling pumped for 2025.
Look at that.
Well, I must say, I'm looking forward to having this, because this is like a longer form conversation. One of the great things about a podcast is you get to have a longer chat, which is nice. We always seem to grab chats where we might be perhaps, I don't know, lecturing at different events, or we might be at a social event, but they're always like 5-minute chats here and there, as lovely as they are. But being able to chat now for 40, 45 minutes and find out more about you, which will be great. And the listeners, you've got a great story. I mean, you're still young and you're still relatively early on in your career, but you've got... You contribute so much to the profession, but also you're already helping so many students and younger dentists. So I'm interested to explore more about that.
Hence, she's esteemed.
Exactly. Yes. So it's a well justified word. Whenever I meet you, you're always so positive, like ultra positive about everything. Where does that come from? Was that instilled in you as a child? Are your parents of that mind? Where did that come from?
Good question. Do you know what? Ever since, even in primary school, I'd get feedback from my teachers. My mum would say that they'd say, Yewande is super bubbly. And I feel it just came from actually my mum. She's the kind of person, if you were to ever meet my mum, she's very bubbly. She's so friendly, so happy. And I always, when I'd grow up, I'd watch her talk to anyone. And I feel like when you're around someone like that, you can't help but be positive yourself. And she didn't grow up in the best circumstances, the whole coming from Nigeria to here, but she still remained positive. I didn't know how much struggle my parents actually had to go through until I was a bit older. But the fact that I grew up and everything still seemed super happy, super positive, I think that's what made such a good impact on me and how I carry those sort of
that's powerful parenting as well, isn't it? That parents are quite often going through their own struggles, yet they don't pass that down to their kids. They want their kids just to enjoy their childhood. When did your parents came over together from Nigeria to the UK?
So initially they came over together. The whole searching for a better life.
When was that?
Oh, 1996. That's when I was born. So probably 2 years after that. Yeah, so 1998. Sort of thing.
Right.
But I was around 2, 3, so I was quite young, like 3. Didn't know much. I was born in Nigeria, so then we with them.
And you probably don't have many memories of Nigeria then at 2 or 3, do you? Or did you have something?
A little bit. I don't remember. I think it's from pictures. I'd see pictures, and I'd go back. So I'd go back, when I was younger. So
And
I
where did they move to? Where did they arrive to? Where did you live? That's where I'm coming from.
Southeast London. So I've always lived in Southeast London, but it wasn't very straightforward. My mum had to go to like, different housing and trying to, manage different jobs. She worked as a carer, childcare. She'd have to sometimes take me to work with her. So lots of things happening. Unfortunately, my mum and dad didn't stay together, so she ended up having to do a lot of things on her own. I have 2 younger brothers, so I was the eldest, and having my 2 younger brothers as well along the journey. Sometimes I'd have to look after them as I got older, whilst my mum would be out. So it was a lot, but I really respected the hard work, and I think seeing how much she put on the line to kind of give us a good start in life pushes me to kind of do the same.
And how old are your brothers? Are they much younger than you, or?
So we're both kind of 3 years apart, each of us.
Right. Oh, right. Okay. Yeah. Any of them wanting to do dentistry?
No, I am the only dentist in the family. Really, it was because you wouldn't really. My mum she does a hairdressing. She did hairdressing. She did care. My dad worked in security, so nothing really professional. I'm kind of the anomaly.
So what was the thing that turned your head to dentistry then? Because quite often when we talk to people, there might be a family member, an uncle and aunt, or somebody that's kind of just nudged them and gone, have you thought about dentistry? So where did your interest come from?
I've always just been a person where I kind of went with the flow in school, but I'm very academic. I was really good at science, chemistry, biology, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, we called those kids a SWATs. That's what we called them. We called them a SWAT.
Or nerd.
A little nerd, yeah. Kind of just kept my head down. And I think I was, because, in Nigerian culture, it's instilled in you. You need to get good grades. Work hard in school so you can get a good job. So I was just like, I want to make my parents proud. Let me just work hard in school. I didn't actually know what I wanted to do per se with my life. I just knew I needed to get good grades. But as the time slowly started to tick, when you get to like 16, 18, the pressure's on to decide what you want to do with your life.
And that's early, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's like when people are in their kind of mid-late teens, having to make what will become kind of life-defining decisions. They're massive. Yeah. They're
huge.
Massive.
I felt the weight on my shoulders. Like, oh, what am I going to do? So I literally went on good old Google and I just searched, okay, I enjoy chemistry and biology. I like working with people. What can I do? And it came up first with medicine. And I just thought, being a doctor, it's all well and good, but I'm quite an emotional person, and I just feel that environment of people may pass away, and it just seemed very quite, I don't know, doom and gloom. I know there's other parts to medicine, but I didn't like the thought of being in that hospital environment.
But you tend to go to a hospital or see a doctor when you're not well, don't you? That's kind of you don't go and see this people and say, I feel really well today. Could you just check me out? Just make sure that I'm as well as I feel, because that tends to not happen. Yeah. Whereas in dentistry, there's kind of a continuing oral healthcare element, and there's a very strong aesthetic element that then feeds into a greater well-being, improved personal view of yourself, and all that. So there is a much more positive side to dentistry that I could see that you might not get from medicine.
Exactly, you hit the nail on the head.
Yeah.
So when I saw dentistry as well, I was like, oh, okay, this seems quite viable. It's not all doom and gloom. People, you actually want to come to you. Well, not everyone wants to come and see us. The first thing people say is, I hate the dentist when they walk in. But I quite like that aspect, because I wanted to be a dentist that people actually want to come and see. And I was like, this could be quite good. So once I researched it, and I was like, you know what, I can see myself doing this. And funnily enough, I saw an advert, a Sensodyne advert of Dr. Yewande Oduwole. She was on it.
Yeah.
Because when I came across dentistry, I didn't really see many people that looked like me, and that was a whole thing. I was like, oh, can I actually do this job? And I didn't have any sort of connections or anything like that. But when I saw
we all need role models of some sort or other, don't we?
Yeah, Exactly. So when I
Yeah.
saw her, I was like, oh, okay, this seems something I could do. And I saw her 10 years younger. I was like, oh, this seems like
Yeah.
a career that I can do. So I quickly decided dentistry was the one for me. And from then I was like, you know what, I'm gonna go in all guns blazing and focus on getting in. That's a whole story
Did
for itself as well.
did
which I'm sure.
you ever get to tell Uchenna about that?
So we spoke on Instagram message. We had always planned to meet each other, so I never got to meet her in person,
Right.
sadly.
Yeah.
But I made sure
Yeah.
to tell her
Mm.
via social media, and that's the great thing about social media. You can connect with
Yes.
people.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and
I mean, for the people that are listening that don't know, Uchenna Okoye sadly passed away a couple of years ago at a very young age. And she was a big noise in dentistry. She did a
Leading
lot of
light,
stuff.
wasn't
Yeah.
she? Anna Lovely. She was really nice.
Yeah,
actually,
she
very
was.
nice.
She was.
Yeah.
Yeah. So no, but it's lovely to hear that she had an impact on you as well, because
100%.
we never know. We never know the impact that we have on people. But yeah, you saw an advert with her, and obviously there was a resonance with her background and your background, and
Yeah.
that kind of perhaps gave you that little extra bit of confidence and lift to do what you're going to do. But it wasn't straightforward when you applied for dentistry, was it, for you?
Absolutely not. It was anytime I think back to this whole process, because it was just one of those moments you have in life where it's like everything seems to go wrong. I don't know if anyone's listening or you guys, you can think to a moment where it's, why is this not working?
Yeah.
Especially when you're so excited about something. So I had geared myself up. This is what I want to do. And I applied. The first time I applied was in 2013. Got a few interviews actually. So it seemed to all be going well.
Yeah.
Got an offer, and all I needed to do was get the grades. Seems simple enough. I had really, done many past papers, studied everything, and I was like, you know what, I've got this in the bag. I'm gonna get in. At the time, it was Manchester and Liverpool that gave me the offers, and it seemed like it was aligning because I really wanted to be in a big city. Coming from London, I didn't want to deviate, so I was like, this seems to be going well. And then the exam time came, and as you do, go into the exam hall, do the paper. I had finished doing that paper, and the invigilator walked around and was like, oh, okay, collecting all the papers. And she took the paper out, and there was a whole question I hadn't seen. It was like a 22-mark question.
No.
And she was literally like, you didn't want to answer that? And I was like, no. Can I have the paper back? I can answer the question. She's like, time's up.
Oof.
And I was literally, I think the whole exam hall heard me. I just literally burst into tears.
Oh, bless.
Oh, wow.
It's a stressful environment anyway, isn't it?
Yeah. To think when you've practiced something so many times, but when it gets to the actual thing, I was just like, how could I have made such a...
So you feel a bit stupid, don't you? Really? Because you think, how did I miss a whole question?
But also, you're a really diligent student. It's not like you were somebody who had to kind of
flaky.
Yeah, it wasn't like you were really struggling with the content. You were a really diligent, bright student. So you just literally missed the question.
You didn't do that thing. You weren't sitting there where you're thinking, "Oh, I finished now. I've got half an hour." You sat there for half an hour, like, "Yeah, it's great." Oh, very mellow, and then think, "Oh, bugger."
Probably wasn't quite half an hour. I think I finished it thinking, oh yeah,
that was easy.
What did the aftermath of this look like for you? Because we started by saying you're ultra positive, you're always smiling, you have this outlook. Were you able to bounce back from that pretty quickly and go, okay, stuff happens, right? Let's crack on, or was it quite dark?
Oh, it was very dark. I went into a deep hole. And I feel like that moment really humbled me, because I think I was, in that time, I was very sort of sure of everything and like, oh, I'm going to do this, and not bragging, but like almost.
Were you
like,
a grade A student?
Yeah,
sort of like,
exactly.
Whatever I touch, I can do this. It's great. Therefore, I've got this supreme confidence it's going to be great. And then suddenly it's like,
exactly. And I think everyone needs a moment in life where you are humbled. And you realise that, oh, okay, it's not always going to go the way I've planned. Because I feel like that moment, I'm happy actually I had that early on in my life, because it taught me resilience and not giving up. Because in that period, I was very close to just saying, oh, this didn't go my way. Let's look for something else. I was this close to going to study biomed in Warwick, because that was my insurance, because you always have to have an insurance when you apply. So they had given me an offer, and I was like, oh, they've given me an offer to study biomed. Because basically what happened, obviously the results came back. I didn't get the grade, didn't get in. So the only thing I had to do now was retake. And I was deciding whether retaking and going to the year below to retake the subject and do the paper again, or staying with my cohort and just doing something else completely.
Yeah.
So it was really hard. Like, that decision, I had to sit on it, and I obviously spoke to my friends, family, and I'm a Christian, so I prayed a lot about it as well, and had to just find that piece of what I wanted to do. And I think all roads were just saying, no, what, Yewande, you really want to do dentistry, try again. Try again. At the time, it just seemed like I had to, it felt really like swallowing so much pride. I had to literally go down to the year below.
Yeah.
And do the whole year with them for that subject.
But having the maturity to do that, because it would have been very easy. Yeah, there's a lot of peer pressure and stuff, isn't there, at that age? It would have been very easy just to tag along with your mates in the same cohort, do biomed, and never know what that option was. But to have the maturity to see, like, no, I can do this. And also, hearing the story, it wasn't that you didn't have the aptitude and the capability. You literally didn't turn over a bit of paper.
You must have been so frustrated.
Yeah.
You know, as I think that's the great one, isn't it? The fact of it wasn't that you didn't necessarily know it. You just had missed a question.
Yeah.
Literally.
And it's like, man, I've got to do a whole new year again.
So I imagine the way this chapter of your life ends is you redid the year, you passed with flying colours, and you got your first choice.
No.
No?
I redid the year. I almost got no offers the second time round. I got no interviews except from Plymouth. Plymouth was my only one.
Right.
And they were the only dental school that let me in, and that was the opposite of what I wanted. It wasn't in a city, big city. It was literally 6 hours away from London, in the middle of, well, now I know Plymouth more. At the time, I felt this was the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
So you would have been one of the quite early cohorts at Peninsula.
Peninsula,
back then.
yes.
Yeah, Peninsula. So they hadn't long since opened when you joined. You would have been quite one of the first students to go through, would you?
Yeah, so they used to be mainly post-grad.
Yeah.
I think I was maybe the third or fourth year of them. So it was early days, but at the time, it wasn't you have the main dental schools. It was quite a new one.
Yes.
So at that point, anything goes. I was just like, great.
Yeah. Give me a place.
Yeah,
Give me a place.
But the funny thing is now it's getting rave reviews.
I say it's well ranked now, isn't it?
And people talk about it in such a positive light.
It is very well.
In a different episode, we were talking to Kat Edney, the dental therapist.
Yes.
And she was talking about how positive Peninsula is in developing their therapist program. So it's a very front foot, leading edge dental school. So whilst it was quite early on for you, I think it's moving on quite nicely.
We used to know the lady. I can't remember.
Liz Kay?
Yes. Yeah, I think it was, yeah.
Professor Liz Kay. She's
I think, I remember her, yeah.
Yeah,
She was lovely, actually. She was really nice.
Great.
So what was your experience like there as a student?
Seaside.
Yes.
Seaside, that's it. I quickly went from disliking being 6 hours away from London to absolutely loving it.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
It's
a bit of a difference, I suppose, isn't it? Towny to Plymouth, I'll tell you.
Big difference. It's not every day you walk out of your dental school and you have the big seafront. It was lovely. I think when I think back to my 5 years at Peninsula, it was great. And I'm so
Did you get into sailing?
Sailing. Not quite. I almost did surfing.
Wow.
Yeah, surfing was there. We used to go to Truro.
Okay, yeah.
I don't know if you've been to the Southwest, any of you.
Yeah, it's lovely down there. Yeah, I like Cornwall. Yeah,
Yeah.
Newquay and round there, and some of those small little kind of like Polperro.
Hard to
and
sell a
some of
practice in Cornwall, though.
It is.
That's what's
It is.
Oh,
People
is
enjoy
it?
holidaying there, but not buying and owning practices down there. Yeah,
Yeah, Plymouth was better. Devon was better when Peninsula built.
it helped.
Because people obviously did their degree there and then stayed. Before that, it was really hard to sell a practice in Devon and Cornwall.
I do hear they do need a lot of dentists down in Devon, because of I think it's quite, obviously you guys will know a lot about this, but the scope there's not many dentists down in the Southwest.
No. And then while you were studying, you won a scholarship, and you did a project in Ghana. Is that right?
Yes, I did. So during my time in dental school, I was very active in finding different opportunities. To any students that might be listening to this, I feel it's so important to look at what's available for students. There are so many organizations and associations that provide scholarships or, essay prizes, awards whilst you're a student, and you can only do it as a student. So I came across the Afro-Caribbean Dental Association.
I had no idea that association existed until I was reading up for our conversation today. I wasn't aware that we had that as an association in the UK.
Yes, we do. There are many different ones emerging.
Yeah.
So at the time, I came across them, and they were giving out a scholarship for students. You had to write an essay on something, and I put myself forward and how you'd use the money, and I wanted to do volunteering. That was one of my aims, and they sponsored me to do it, and it was great. I absolutely loved going to Ghana, went to the orphanages, did a lot of oral health talks there, and it's something I'd want to do again.
I say, have you continued it with people like Dentaid or Mobile Smiles or whatever?
Not yet, but it's something that I definitely want to do. I know Dentaid, they do a lot of that. But yeah, it was good, and I think it was just a great opportunity whilst I was studying, because whilst you're studying, you're trying to hone in your skills as well, and going back there to do free dentistry, there were so many people that needed things like extractions, and just getting that hands-on experience as well was really good too.
That's great, actually, isn't it? Because when you think about it, a lot of the guys that we speak to who've been through dental school recently, and there hasn't been a huge amount of practical application. As I know, we some of the guys that we deal with, they sort of say, they'll get a dentist who's come out and do an FD year, and they've never done an extraction on a molar or something.
Oh,
and that it's fascinating. I'm just thinking about what you're saying is to be able to do that as a real hands-on experience is brilliant for you as your education, isn't it?
Yeah, so it works both ways, because the people there, they absolutely they love it, they're grateful, and then you're also enhancing your skills as a student, because I suck at extractions. So when I went there and I was like practicing, it really helped me with the different techniques, and the dentists in Ghana are amazing as well. So I really had so much respect, because there was one dentist that was managing so many people, and I was just like, wow, how you were doing this, and
In a previous episode, you spoke to a guy called James Hunter, who's an English dentist, and he's taking himself and his family out to Liberia.
Oh, wow.
And they're going out to the west coast of Africa later on this year. And he was saying that there's 4 dentists in Liberia.
The whole of Liberia?
Yeah.
There's 4 dentists.
He's got something like 800,000 patients.
Yeah, he's going to be one of them. And he was saying that part of his job will be to go around and train people in local communities, just to, I guess, do very primitive, basic oral healthcare. But imagine that, having 4 qualified dentists in the country. Absolutely
That's
crazy. It's mad, isn't it?
It's a small conference, though.
Yes. Yeah, small association.
Treasurer.
Yeah.
Nice.
I'm interested in your interest in students, because you're 4 years qualified. Is that right?
Yes.
4 years out.
Yes.
So you're kind of moving away from your kind of dental school experience, but you speak so much and you invest so much in trying to help students. So we both worked with Joe Lovett on the Fast Track Your Future event, which was great fun. And that was aimed at younger and students, younger dentists and students. Where does that come from? What's your interest in trying to impart so much knowledge to younger people? Are you kind of filling something that you didn't have when you were younger? I'm interested why you're so keen.
It all stemmed from my journey, really, where obviously I didn't have a lot of dentists in my family, so there was no one for me to reach out to. Not getting in the first time, because I know a lot of people may go through that situation and feel like giving up, and just generally being kind of like that older sister to people that, or like, that don't have that in their families. And that's why I just hopped on YouTube. At the time, I didn't know what I was doing. When I look at my first YouTube video, it was very grainy, very just like, I just literally opened my laptop and just started talking like to people.
But I think the difference Yewande, is you open your laptop and you started talking. I think a lot of people get in their own way and they're worried that their first video is going to be crap. No one's going to watch it. I haven't got time to edit it. Whereas you just did what most people don't do, which is you just started talking, which is great.
Literally, I didn't know where it was going to go, what it was going to do, but I just thought there might be someone out there that needs to hear this. And I'm so glad I did, because off the back of that, a lot of students started to get in contact with me, and I'll do interview preparation with them, check their personal statements. I still do that up until this day. I do interview practice, coaching, because I'm just really passionate about allowing people to see their full potential and not give up on themselves.
That's lovely.
With dentistry, and because it's such a hard profession, and I think to get in, there's a lot of hoops to go through.
Yes.
And if you're someone that you might not have someone to hold your hand through it,
it's a bit daunting.
Yeah.
Very daunting.
Is part of your interview preparation turn over the bit of paper?
Rule number 1.
Read the instructions.
Read the instructions. Literally.
So if we roll back to, if you're 4 years qualified, that means that the end of your training would have bumped into COVID. Would that be right? So what period is that like for you?
Oh, so going through dental school and it was such a whirlwind, because it was COVID-19. Yeah, so we were meant to qualify that year, and literally one day they just said, this is going to be your final lecture because of COVID, and see you later. You have to do your final exams on Zoom. And yeah, it was very abrupt. The way dental school came to a halt. We didn't get our graduation that year. It had to be the following year. I didn't really get to say proper goodbyes. And it was just it was very crazy. We had to, masked everywhere, and going into foundation year with the FFP3, fallow time.
Fallow time.
Oh, they were donning and doffing rooms.
Oh gosh, those words now. Even saying those words, it's like it seems
fallow
like
time. Yeah, you forget fallow time, don't you?
Yeah, we had to wait before we could do anything.
Yeah.
So you left
because obviously because COVID knew to leave the room, didn't it? If we waited 5 minutes, COVID would leave the room, and then it'd be safe to start again.
I always remember that was that professor or something said that we obviously have the slowest particles in Europe, because everyone else was like doing it in 10 minutes. We were waiting an hour in between. Where the madness, really. Yeah. It's bonkers when you look back at it, isn't it? And you go, God. But at the time, I suppose nobody knew, did they?
So was your foundation year, was that quite disrupted? Did you not get as much hands-on experience as you would have liked to have?
No. So going from qualifying in dental school, where you're eager to get going, stuck in, to COVID, where before you do anything, you have to wait, and it was very, very slow. I'm glad things started to pick up towards the end, but it was tough, because I really just wanted to get stuck in, but we had to wait. And even during FD year, you have study days, so we didn't get as many study days as normal, because you couldn't meet up in person as much. So a lot of things were over Zoom. And even I remember when dental events started coming back, it was all like, wow, I can see you in real life.
Yeah.
Because we've just been seeing everyone on Zoom.
Yeah.
And to add to that, during that time is when the whole, Black Lives Matter thing happened, George Floyd. So much was happening in that time. I just remember the whole world seemed to just come to a halt.
Yeah.
Bonkersness.
It was in a really weird way. I'm glad that we all got to live through it in a weird way, because it was such an extraordinary situation. Now, we have all got through it. I know some people died and there was kind of trauma on the way, but for the most part, people got through it. But we've all been changed as a result of it.
And how quickly forgotten. I think that's, you know, when you look at it, what is it? 4 years, I suppose. Is it 4 years?
4 years ago.
Yeah, I think it was the 23rd of March, wasn't it? Mad, 2020, when we all had
it's
to
just
kind
bonkers, really, when you think about it. Like, what? That's it.
Yeah, but there's still kind of lasting legacies, aren't there? There's still, I think it has affected some people. I think people just have changed and adjusted their behaviour slightly, but some companies need to change their websites. They've still got their coronavirus thing on it. Yeah, there might be something like, hello. Exactly. I think you might need to revisit your website, Mr. Person. So what does your work week look like now? What's your work pattern? Are you working in a number of places as an associate, or just one place? And you've also got your social media side. What's the typical week for you like?
So I work at one main practice, and the practice is actually quite interesting. We work in shifts. So my week is a bit crazy. Monday, I work from 2 till 8. Tuesday, I work from 7:30 in the morning till 8.
Yeah. That's a long day.
What, half an hour?
I work really
That's
quickly.
not very long, Flip.
12 hour day.
That's a lot.
And then that brings us to today, Wednesday, where I'm basically shattered. So
you're recovering.
Recovering. It's a day off, but it's not really a day off because there's always kind of like admin things to do, planning cases. That's where I try and do some social media things.
Yeah.
And then Thursday, 7:30 till 1:30. So it gets better as the week goes on. And then Friday is a normal 9 to 5. So it's very varied day.
I think what's interesting about that is I live in Chingford, northeast London, and we had a practice open fairly recently.
Yeah.
And I think from recollection, their hours are something like 8 till 8 Monday to Friday, 12 till 9 Saturday and Sunday. And when it first opened, everyone says it's ridiculous, that those out. But actually, so long as people are prepared to work and on a shift pattern, as you just described, and because of your lifestyle, it might suit you really well to do a few longer days, but have a day off in the week. Or because of, I don't know, depending on what your partner does, you might need to dovetail for childcare or whatever it might be. So giving people the flexibility to work early or work late seems to work quite well. And this practice has nailed it. And I think that's just modern dentistry. I think modern dentistry.
Patients, isn't it? Patients expect to be able to come when they want to come.
Yeah, I think 9 to 5 and an hour for lunch is a very old school way of working. And it seems to work for you as well at the moment. In the future, your lifestyle might change and it might not suit you. But at the moment, it works really well.
Definitely. And I have huge respect to my principal, Rajiv. They've set up a really good business. They've got 2 practices that are literally 10-minute walking distance from each other.
Right.
And I think one has 8 surgeries, one has 7 surgeries. So it's a very big practice and there's a lot of us. So we're able to the surgery is always working basically because there's someone working in the morning, someone working in the evening.
That's great. Sweats the asset, as we would say.
Yes.
The asset. But there's a way to go about it. And I think from a business standpoint, it probably works well. But you're right. It's going to get to a point in my life where I want family, children and stuff. And I don't think my kids are very impressed if I'm working all day, 12 hours every day.
No.
I think different stages of life. And right now, it's working well.
It works. And you were saying on Wednesday, kind of that's a social media day, and we're a couple of crusty old blokes, so you're way on top of it more than we are. But you're on Instagram and you've got your YouTube channel, and all that contributed to you being in the Dentistry Top 50 in 2022. There's a great side to it that we see, but is there a downside to it as well? Can it be something quite hard to present yourself as you do on social media?
Social media, the world of Instagram, it's a double-edged sword because I feel like it's got so many positives where if it wasn't for social media, a lot of the opportunities I've had wouldn't have really come about because I was just doing me from my YouTube channel and obviously I started my Instagram, and then you naturally connect with other people and people are interested in what you're doing. So I've loved social media from the standpoint of being able to connect with people, but the negative side of it is you do get a sense of comparison, especially as a young dentist. You're looking at what everyone's doing, and it's, you know, back in the day, dentists would just do their own thing and you never know what's going on. But I've fallen into it where you compare yourself to dentists that are, you know, 10 years more qualified than you, and you're like, oh, why am I not doing this, or why am I, like, my work isn't to this degree, and you can get really quite upset and you know, depressed. But comparison is a thief of joy. I love that saying.
Yeah.
Anytime I get into a, you know, comparing, and I tell young dentists as well that, look, you focus on your joy, and you don't know what that person's been through. Social media can be smoke and mirrors. It's a highlight reel. You see all the great positive things that people are doing, but everyone has their own struggles, and
so they don't show you their failures, do they?
No, but also I think you're very kind to say it's a highlight reel, because some people just blatantly lie. Some people just literally blatantly lie online to boost their own ego or make up for whatever failures they've got.
Feel better,
And you're right, because we only ever get to see that pixel of their life that they decide to share. We don't even know if it's true or not. And I think having that kind of checking in with yourself from time to time, that actually just, you know, you just do your stuff. You do your stuff, you put it out there, and if it resonates with somebody and it makes their day, or it's helpful, it's useful, then that's great. But I'm not going to worry whether it ranks above or below somebody else's content. And you're right, because it's very easy to almost kind of fall into the trap of talking about the downside of social media. But I'm with you. The amount of good things that have come out of it for me as well, and for us as a business, is brilliant. And okay, as a business, you tend not to get trolled and abused as an individual might. But overwhelmingly, the experience is positive.
Yes.
It's a good thing. The problem is that when it gets nasty quite quickly, and that's kind of it. And because people being people and we all have emotions, it kind of hurts quite quickly. Yeah.
I think you both do it quite well as well. I don't know, Chris, if you're on social media much. I don't see you. But...
I think you could possibly say I have a Facebook account, which I never use, and I do have on LinkedIn. I'm probably a bit more active. I have Instagram.
Yeah.
But I think I've got 140 followers, and I think I posted pictures of a chicken and a barbecue, possibly.
But you're being true to yourself. You see, the key is being authentic.
I am authentically not interested.
Exactly. And look, it's not for everyone. I always say there's so many successful dentists that don't have social media. So I think in this day and age, a lot of people are very sort of, I need to be like this Instagram dentist, or, you know, make this social media page in order to be successful, but not necessarily, you know.
It's one of many marketing channels.
I'm lucky that my business partner is a genius.
Not at all. But isn't it? It's just a marketing channel. So if you have a really good relationship with your local school, and you do all health education, you know, trips to the school, and you educate children, and as a result of that, you happen to get all the parents coming to your practice, that's just another marketing tool. And I think it's easy to forget that it's just another channel to get your audience, and it's not the only one. It's not the most important one. It is just a channel.
Exactly.
What does the future hold for you, Yewande? You know, do you see yourself as being
where we lean
in thoughtfully? Yeah, but is it? You know, do you just enjoy the clinical work? Do you have aspirations on the business side? Would you like to own a practice? Would you like to own multiple practices? What's you thinking?
Oh, the big question, the future. At the moment, I feel I'm living my life how things have just fallen into place for me. I'm trying not to put too much pressure on the future per se, just allowing things to work. And I found that everything works together for good.
Enjoy the moment.
Enjoy the moment. And one thing you said, Andy, you gave a talk at the event, Joe's event, and I remember the quote you said by Bronnie Ware about, I want to live a life that's true to myself, not what others expect of me. And that was from the Top Regrets of the Dying. So
Bronnie Ware, yeah.
Yeah, when you said that, I was just like, wow, that's so true. And I think I'm guilty of saying, oh, people expect me to kind of do this or do that. But at the end of the day, I need to live a life that's true to me. And I've always played with the idea of, should I own a practice? Should I not? At the moment, it's not something, sorry, but it's not something that I feel like I'm interested in. But who knows? In the future,
but it is horses for courses. Some people, they want it. It's a burning thing. Some people just aren't remotely interested. And some people just develop into it. So there's no right or wrong.
But also, I think that I always think it's a shame where people feel that as a dentist, there's kind of this sort of unwritten hierarchy that says you go from being an associate to a practice owner. And at some point, you have to become a practice owner to be considered a serious dentist.
Yeah, you can't just be an associate.
But I think it's cobblers. I genuinely think it's cobblers. I think you can be an awesome dentist and live your career as an associate and not want to have a practice, not have a desire to own a practice,
and still well financially.
Financially it still works really well, and you can have a massive contribution. And I always think it's a shame if people feel that they need to own a practice to somehow step up that ladder. I don't think it's the case, and lots of the people that do it for the wrong reasons, or they find it doesn't actually fulfill the thing they thought it was going to fulfill. So I think keeping an open mind and not boxing yourself in is so smart.
That's what I think. I think I have a feeling like when I feel something, I go for it, and it may change, and opportunities may present themselves. I've always said if I was going to own a practice, I'd probably want to pair up with someone, because doing it, I respect people that do it all by themselves, as it's a lot. I see what, my principals have to go through, CQC and organising this, and you're actually going away from the clinical dentistry. It's more sort of organising things and putting things together. Whereas right now I'm loving clinical dentistry, and think I've...
It's great to hear, actually.
Yeah, it is lovely. It's really nice.
Yeah. But I might come knocking on your door in a few years' time.
That's right. I'll be retired, so that'll be fine.
In your youth, you were very busy and you had lots and lots of jobs.
In my youth? Oh my gosh, you make me feel old.
in your youth, when you were a youngster, you had lots of jobs. And one of those jobs was a TV extra, weren't you? You appeared on TV a couple of times.
Oh, that youth. I thought you were talking about like dental school.
No. You're non-dental youth. How did you end up in the world of television?
So that's a funny story, actually. So whilst I was, before dentistry, before, all of that, I had many jobs. I've worked as a cleaner, I've worked in retail in Apple, I've worked in All Saints, and then one of the jobs I came across was being a TV extra, and I was like, oh, this seems fun. So I put myself forward for it, and I ended up being in Top Boy as a it was a very minor role. I didn't have any lines, just I think it was a scene, Mike Ward, who was coming into the hospital. He was holding flowers, and I had to just check him in. I was a nurse. So, but the camera went on me, and I had so many people message me like, oh my gosh, Yewande, you're in Top Boy. So that's my claim to fame.
Brilliant. Yeah. And any aspirations for TV or movies? Are we going to see you in Hollywood anytime soon?
Amdram? Did you do any Amdram? Yeah.
At the moment, I don't know. Maybe in a dental context. I'd love to be on one of those sort of adverts, and I do kind of like sort of social media things. The one dentist thinks this, the Sensodyne, the Colgate advert. Maybe I might be in one of those, but I don't know about the Top Boy. I don't know if I'll make another appearance on there again.
That was a one-off.
Yeah. Oh no! When I read it, I thought it was a great story. Great story. Yeah. We've got to the point where we need to ask you two very, very, very serious questions, because we can't let you go until we ask these questions. The first one is: if you could be a fly on the wall in a situation, where would you be, and who would be there?
Ooh. Dental or non-dental?
Whatever.
Entirely up to you.
If I'm being controversial with dental, when they were making the whole, the contracts, when it all came to pass in the beginning, like who was responsible for putting all that together? How the dentist ended up working, because that caused a lot of drama.
John
obviously
Renshaw.
that's all changing at the moment. But
Yeah.
non-dental, I'd say when Martin Luther King was writing the speech, I have a dream. Because I think in that moment when he was writing that speech, it must have been a time where it was a lot of pressure to, you know, with race and everything, and that must have been a moment just sitting down there and putting that speech together, and the fact that it's remained prevalent for years to come. I just wanted to know what was going through his mind when he was writing that.
I think the most remarkable thing about that speech for me is he gave that speech in August 1963.
Yeah.
And so if you think in August 1963, the communication channels, they weren't fantastic.
Yeah.
It literally was using the mail and sending a letter or a telegram type thing, and there was a telephone, but that was kind of it. But 250,000 people turned up to the Lincoln Memorial in Washington because they'd heard this bloke was going to say something interesting. So when we talk today about influence and influencers, and then you think back in the 1960s, word got out that this guy was going to say something that was so important to hear. 250,000 people gathered to listen to what he had to say.
No social media.
Nothing. It was word of mouth. Most of it would have been word of mouth. But to get 250,000 people to turn up,
amazing.
To listen, I think it's unreal. It's absolutely, and the photographs of it now give you chills when you look at the masses of people standing there waiting to hear what he's got to say, which is why I think it's such an incredible speech.
Yeah, and to see how much progress has been made since then as well. Obviously, there's still ways to go in some areas, but the fact that he had that vision, and I think it just was the catalyst to that momentum and having people that believed in your vision, and I think that's just it's inspiring. So yeah.
Cool. And if you could meet somebody, who would you like to meet if you were given the opportunity to sit down and have a glass of something with somebody?
I've said this before. I know we spoke about her earlier. I think because I'd planned to meet Uchenna, but I didn't get the chance before she passed away.
Oh, okay.
It would have been nice to actually speak in person. And I would say Michelle Obama. I feel like she's such a powerhouse.
She is, isn't she?
And I feel like being in a room with her, those people that are just inspiring and they just start saying things and just like, wow. I
think she looks like good fun as well.
They have presence.
I think her and Barack, I bet they have a right giggle. I bet they have some really good times between the two of them as well.
It was quite good when they didn't they do James Corden carpool karaoke?
Oh, did they?
Yeah.
They did good fun.
That was quite good fun. Quite good fun.
And hopefully be in a room with both of you soon as well. The next event.
I was going to say there'll be some bits coming up in the next couple of months.
It's all starting to kick off,
exactly. Yeah, it's getting busy again, isn't it? Yewande, it's been a joy. Thank you very, very much. It really has been enjoyable.
Yeah, it's been brilliant.
I think the work you're doing is great, and I just think you're a positive force. I think whenever we talk, I always walk away feeling better because you are bright and you're positive, and so many other people in dentistry get that from you as well. So you're a very valuable contributor to the dental profession.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure, and honestly, it's been such a laugh. I've really enjoyed it. It doesn't even feel like a podcast because I've just been talking to friends. And thank you for being I feel like in this industry, there's very few genuinely kind people, and both of you have just been so lovely and kind. And whenever I meet you, just, just been wanting to just speak life into me. And I just really appreciate that. So I just wanted to say that, keep doing what you're doing as well and just always being the great people you are.
Thank you very much indeed,
Very
Yewande.
nice.
Very sweet of you.
Nice.
Very sweet of you. Right, go on, we'll let you go and carry on with the rest of your day. Look after yourself and we'll see you soon.
Cheers,
Bye.
Cheers, keep well. Cheers, Dad. Thank you for listening to this episode of Dentology, where we discuss the business of dentistry. If you like what you heard, please do subscribe where you found this episode. That would be amazing. And also follow us on Instagram.